One of my favorite parts of Half-Life has always been the environmental storytelling. From the first game to Alyx, the series has always had a knack for telling you something through visuals rather than relying on exposition. From human remains in the Antlion Caves of Episode 2 to the way questionable ethics turns all of your assumptions about the game's story on their head. But the most consistent way Valve does this is using bodies. The remains of fallen friends and foes are an easy way to establish that things are happening when you're not there. The battles you engage in and witness aren't only there for your benefit. This place is real. Things are happening and you're just at the center of it. Valve often does this without calling a lot of attention to it. Nobody's standing there to comment in some obvious way like so many AAA games. You either notice it or you don't, and the specifics aren't really spelled out to you. However, because of how rushed Half-Life 2's final months of development were and the sheer amount of new things the game had to do, sometimes this sort of world building got lost in translation or turned out a little wonky. Let's look at a few examples. One of the weirdest is Valve's use of Corpse 01. Now, you've probably already seen Richter Overtime's video about the disturbing origins of this model, but basically, it uses a real burnt body for part of its texture. And this can raise a few problems, because it seems like Valve uses this to indicate someone who died anywhere from 20 years to like a week ago. Are we supposed to assume that these bodies hanging in Ravenholm were burnt and then hanged after death? Maybe that explains why some of them are tied up from their pelvises, but the implication seems to be that most of these people ended their own lives as an alternative to becoming zombies. And given some of the lines Father Grigori gives us, I doubt he is going around torching people to use as decoration.
May they become like dust before the wind! May the angel of the Lord pursue them!
What's even weirder is their use in the canals and during the Uprising chapters, where they're often just thrown around. Could some of these people have been burnt alive? Maybe. Is this confirmation that the cut cremator enemies are still out there? Who knows? To complicate things even further, whenever Valve really wants you to know that a guy burned to death, they'll use this charcoal model instead and cover the surrounding area in scorch marks. So I can only assume that they decided this corpse was close enough to whatever damage or decomposition these specific bodies are meant to have suffered, and copied it all over the game instead of making more models. Probably better than asking the devs to dig up more real dead body photos. Also, did you know that these guys use the fucking beta model for their jackets and stuff? These guys are beta people. They're betas. Beta! Now, something else you may have noticed is how many of these bodies are sitting in one specific pose, arms at their sides, laying on their back. This is down to jank and laziness. When you place a ragdoll in a map using Valve's hammer editor, it'll spawn in this reference pose by default and only gain physics once it's in the game, and if you just plop a body on the ground, then load it up in-game, the physics aren't going to move the limbs around very much. From what I can tell just by reading stuff online, you can't really do anything about this in vanilla hammer unless you spawn them in a way that'll make their pose change in-game, like creating a small physics explosion that deals no damage, or starting them in an odd position so they'll fall in a better pose when the player sees them. Other bodies, like this fast zombie in Ravenholm, seems to be given its pose by loading the map in-game, adjusting it in some way as the game is running, and then using a console command to plug all of its position values into an animation override setting in Hammer. If that's wrong, please correct me down in the comments. But enough of that nerd shit. To end this video off, I want to talk about a specific part of Highway 17 that changed how I understand the world of Half-Life 2. We have a crashed truck pinning down a Combine soldier, as well as this dead citizen who must have died after falling off the cliff above. These bodies, as well as the piled up cars and supply crates on the road, seem to paint a picture of some kind of car chase between the Combine and the Rebellion that ended in tragedy. Who knows, maybe they were fleeing Black Mesa East and got a head start on Gordon because they didn't need to go through Ravenholm. The only issue is that we never see a single working vehicle that doesn't look like it was purpose-built by the rebels. Maybe that's just another result of the rush to get the game done. They didn't have time to make any more vehicle models for the sake of random world building beyond the pre-invasion cars they already had. So that's about all the time I have for today. I wanted to see how quickly I could get out a smaller video like this, so let me know how it turned out. Big thanks to Richter for helping out with the script and the thumbnail. And if you want to hear me overanalyze more of the Half-Life universe, check out the playlist for my Cascade series on screen right now. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.